Welcome to a Tin Dog Podcast. Yes, this time I'm actually going to be talking about a DVD. I know shortly it'll be my 300th show. So if anyone has any requests or thoughts of things they'd like me to cover 300 shows in, drop me an email. The address is at the end of the show. The Legacy Boxed Set is a 3-disc set. It's kind of the sweepings. It's a box full of wonderment and disappointment, for it contains mainly Sharda and more than 30 years in the TARDIS. The reason that it's disappointing is basically because of what's missing. Now, for those of you who've been paying any attention whatsoever, they'll know that on this disc, Sharda, the legendary missing 6-parter, has been brought to us in various formats. First off was the original TV production, which was never finished. Douglas Adams then went away and used various bits of the script to write Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. That would be, say, Sharda version 2. Sharda version 3 was JNT's attempt to refinish off the VHS release, as it became known, with Tom Baker in the 90s sitting at the Museum of the Moving Image narrating the bits of Sharda which didn't exist. Those bits were lovely, and that's what we had on VHS. Now, the VHS release that came out came with a little plastic script. Tiny little book, absolutely lovely, brilliant. Now, this is where it gets lovely. Big Finish were never particularly happy with this, so they thought, let's remount it. At the time, Tom said, no, Big Finish, please go away. And, let's face it, the other person in Sharda is Lala Ward. This is where it proves difficult. I don't really understand if Lala and Tom will ever be able to perform together, or even if they should. I'm not going to ask any ex-married couple to be in the room with each other. I'm not insane. So, Big Finish come up with the idea of the Eighth Doctor going back to try and sort out what happened with Sharda and Romana. So you have a variant on the cast. This is my favourite version, the Big Finish version. And then we have the novelisations which have just come out. Gareth Roberts, see my last few podcasts for some little references. And beyond all that, we have, squirreling away in the background, the non-profit, completely animated John Levine version of Sharda, which, as always, I've heard good things about. This is the version I don't have. This is the version I want. Now, I know Levine's stepped on too many toes, and I point you in the direction of the DW Online WhoCast interview for that one. But we still want to see it. He offered it for free. Free. It could have been an extra. So, the version on this DVD hasn't got new effects, hasn't got new anything. This is a DVD release of the VHS version with Tom in the 90s chatting to camera, filling in all of the gaps, filling in all of the 6 episodes, because quite a lot of Sharda was made. This is the best version we'll have. It's a version with missing bits, but let's just hope that... Now, one of the problems with Sharda is it was missing for such a long time that we fans got a little bee in our bonnet saying it was the greatest story never told, except it's now been told many, many times. We know what happens. And in our head, it's slightly better. If you've read the Gareth Roberts book, it's a fantastic story. However, that's not what we have here. We have an old VHS release, and you think, oh, fair enough, it's a disc they found lying around. So what else do you get? Well, luckily, you get a lot of extras. The info text is particularly good, and seeing Douglas Adams' name on the screen still gives you a little bit of chill. But this, after all, is not the Sharda DVD release. This is the Legacy Boxed Set. So beyond the reworking of the 6-episode story Sharda, what else do you get? You get the Flash animated version of Sharda, made for BBCi in 2003. This is the one starring Paul McGann. It's playable on a PC or a Mac. Why? You see, you could play them on a PC and a Mac and then transfer them over to DVD so that you could watch them on your DVD player. Why did they do this? Why didn't they just release them as MP3s? The thing has been released as an audio version, and that's the one I had. So if you want to watch it, like say Scream of the Shalka should have been on this disc, put all of the animated Doctor Who's together. But no. So I don't know why that's like that, but it is. Taken out of time is a making of Sharda. Now Tom Baker is completely on form on this one. Daniel Hill and Pennant Roberts and production manager Rolf Watton and Olivia, and I cannot pronounce her surname for toffee, and there's some lovely stories of on-screen romance and the fact that it was never made and all the business about striking. Which brings us to the next documentary, of course, called Strike, 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 which talks about how Doctor Who has been affected by industrial action. It's awfully good and has rather surprising cameo. Again, now and then, making it feel like a proper DVD release. We've also got Being a Girl, where Emma Price and Samir Ahmed look at the way that women have been represented in Doctor Who. It's not quite in as much depth as I would like. For those of you who don't know, the Verity Podcast is a brand new Doctor Who podcast. It's basically Chicks Dig Time Lords, but as a podcast. There you are, I've whet your appetite. Go and download it, give it a go. It's awfully good. I'll put the trailer on at the end of this. Anyway, back to the extras. By far the best thing on this entire 3-disc set isn't More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS. I'll talk about that in a moment. No, it's remembering Nick Courtney. The guy who wrote Nick Courtney's autobiography with him interviews Nick before he died. It was apparently an unfinished interview, but it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of the nicest things I've ever seen on DVD. It's gentle, it's revealing, it's lovingly made, and I know when Tom turns up, it's all a bit over the top. But that's fine. It does detract because I actually wanted to see more Nick, but that's okay. I can live with that. As I said earlier, this is more of a sweepings boxed set because we have things like Doctor Who stories, Peter Purvis, interviewed in 2003. I'm not completely convinced this hasn't appeared elsewhere. Those Deadly Divas seems to have been filmed in a pub, interviewing various women who'd been in Doctor Who at various points, leaving only More Than 30 Years in the TARDIS, which is an import from the VHS release of, indeed, More Than 30 Years. The problem with More Than 30 Years, or as it was on TV, 30 Years in the TARDIS, is it's a fairly broad documentary about Doctor Who. If you were doing a media studies course and you had to introduce a load of people to what is Doctor Who, this is a good place to start. If you're a fan, it's not in quite enough depth. It's not quite as well thought out, but it's got some wonderful interviews. Unfortunately, it was shot 20 years ago, and you're sat there going, isn't this lovely? And one tiny bit of your head is going, dead, dead, not well, very not well. They're dead now. Oh, they look much younger, because 20 years is a long time for everyone. So yeah, it's a great documentary. It just depresses you a little bit, because we've lost so many people. I don't want to be a downer on this. After all, it is a remarkably good box set. It's got Sharda, and you've always wanted it on VHS. Sorry, DVD, haven't you? It's got missing things. We'll never be truly happy. But if you want to watch Sharda, go for it. This is the final year of the DVD releases after all, and let's just get everything we can. Soon I'll be talking about other things, so until then, be seeing you. You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all copyright and property of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Whostrology the book is available directly from Tellus Publishing and from Amazon. For personal Whostrology readings, visit whostrology.com.
Thank you for bringing those in. I'm going to go to a question now. For our question, we go to the final questions from everyone's favourite metal science fiction space dog. It is a relevant question, this, though. For the last time, it's K9's question time.
Greetings, Master. I am K9. Tonight, as you say, which is the odd one out? Ms. Lottie Williams from Oklahoma, Mrs. Elizabeth Hodges from Alabama, and this boy from Uganda, name unknown. Please furnish me with the correct answer.
Of those three people, who's the odd one out? Anyone will speculate on an answer?
I didn't listen, I was listening to the music again.
Yeah. You will not focus here.
It was Rugby Special on Tuesday. It was brilliant. That might have been what was that thing?
I've
World of
no
Sport
idea.
with Dickie Davis.
Yeah. Do you want to give us an answer? Do you want to
I've no idea. I didn't listen to the question.
Okay.
One of those ladies hit by a meteorite.
Well, yes, one of them was hit by a meteorite.
It was someone who lived in Alabama, I know that.
One of them was hit by a meteorite. Does anyone know what the odd one out would be then?
It's the lady on the left.
Why is it the lady on the left?
Because she's the only one who hasn't been hit by a meteorite.
Right, okay.
What was she hit by?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Let's find out from K9.
Here is the answer. All three of these humans have been hit by objects falling from space. Mrs. Hodges and the boy from Uganda were both struck by meteorites, but Ms. Lottie Williams is the only known human to have ever been struck by man-made space debris. It was a piece of metal from the fuel tank of a Delta II rocket. Now, Master Dara, I must return to Gallifrey. Farewell.
He must return to Gallifrey or a cupboard. Okay. Now, how often, by the way, are people or anyone hit by meteorites?
Well, those are the only two people that we actually know of that have been hit by meteorites, so it is luckily a very rare occurrence. Of course, there may be people who live out in unpopulated areas, they're just walking along and they've been hit by a meteorite, but, drop down dead, nobody would know.
Cars are regularly hit.
Really?
Yes, cars.
They're much more in danger. Yeah, a lot of
And it increases the value of the car.
Yeah.
If your car is hit by a meteorite, it's instantly of value to meteorite collectors.
Please do donate it to the Natural History Museum. We shall put it on public display for our nearly 5 million
They're not
visitors
that rare. A man came up to me after a gig in Oxford and handed me these. These are cufflinks made with meteorite in them.
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're sufficiently...
Really?
Yeah. That's what he said. He said the beans were magic and I gave him the cow.
Coming soon, Verity, a Doctor Who podcast from a decidedly different perspective. 6 women from across the globe get together to discuss, disagree, and debate all things Doctor Who. Our rotating cast of contributors will include, from Australia, Tansy Rayner-Roberts.
My Doctor Who experience as a fan was always about a bunch of women talking to each other about it. So, until the internet came on and I found out that actually fandom was apparently largely male.
From Scotland, Liz Miles.
I was hanging out on Outpost Gallifrey during the wilderness years. And yeah, it was amazing how many times I was disbelieved to be a woman. It's like, yeah, I'm a woman. No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah, no, I am. I checked. I really definitely am.
From Canada, Katrina Griffiths.
Yeah, we should be discussing which Doctor's era Dimensions in Time fits into.
And from the States, Lynn Thomas.
I'm here to drink wine and talk Doctor Who with my friends.